this darkest time of year, human beings have long sought to bring a light against the gloom. And we come to bring light. We come to join our strength together. We come to bring greater possibility to one another, to our communities, and to our world. Let us come here to be a light to others. Let us bring the light of hope into the darkness. I'd like to invite you to rise as you're able, and we're going to sing a song number 1055 called How Sweet the Darkness. Ezra's going to play through first, since we may be unfamiliar with the tune. And thank you for rising as you're able. To a radically inclusive community of faith, which means that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what stories you carry with you, no matter where you've been or what you've done, no matter whether you are male or female or other, no matter who you love, you are welcome here. There's a place for you here. And I especially want to welcome those of you who are here for the very first time because it's scary to come to a new place. It just is. So I hope you can let go of some of the jitters, and I hope you'll take a deep breath and just let us welcome you. Let us help you to feel at home. And I hope also that in the next hour you find something that moves you, something that makes you think, something that touches your heart, something that helps you in your own personal journey toward wholeness. Whoever you are not alone. You are welcome here. And I'd like to invite the children now to come forward for the time for all ages.
Thank you, Georgia. Caitlin, do you want to get Caitlin? Want to get Caitlin for me? Can I get Caitlin? I know, it's because you know she was shot. Caitlin.
Very special have today. So, once, there was a lady, and there was a man, and they lived quite happily together, and they were going to have a baby. It was all very happy and exciting. But then one day, they had to leave their home. And they really didn't want to have to leave their home. But they really had to, because they couldn't stay there anymore. So they had to travel a long way. And they didn't have a car. So all they had was all they could carry. So, this is a lady. She's baby and tummy. So they walked a long way, and they couldn't walk very fast. So by the time they got to the next town, they knocked on the door and they asked, "Can we come in, please?" There's no space.
There's no space.
Oh. So they had to walk even further. And they had to walk further and further. And further. And then they went to the next place. And they knocked on the door. And they asked, "Can we please come in?"
There's no space.
Are you sure there's no space?
No space.
So they had to go on to the next place. So they trudged some more. They were getting even slower by this point because the lady was getting even more pregnant and it was really tough going. So they got to another place and they asked, "Please, can we come in?"
There's no space.
Are you sure there's no space?
There's no space.
Is there nowhere we can just sleep tonight? Because I'm about to have a baby and we really need somewhere to sleep.
Yes, we can sleep with the animals.
They were so grateful. It really wasn't where they would want to stay, but they had nowhere else to go. So they went to the barn and the stable, and then they had somewhere safe and sheltered so that they could have a baby and start their family together until they could go back home. There we go.
I can do that. Yeah, Mum's going to stay down here.
Come to.
Yep, come back now.
This is by Dory Janine Summers, who's a Unitarian. Reflections on the Resurgence of Joy. How short the daylight hours have now become. How grey the skies, how barren seem the trees. A damp and chilling wind has gripped my mind and made me gloomy too. But there is that in me which reaches up toward the light and laughter, bells and carolers, and knows that my religious myth and dream of reborn joy and goodness must be true because it speaks the truth of older myths, that light returns to balance darkness, life surges in the evergreen and us, as babes are hope and saviours of the world, as miracles abound in common things.
This is a reading from Howard Zinn. To be hopeful in bad times is based on the fact that human history is not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us the energy to act. And if we do act, in however small a way, we don't have to wait for some grand utopian future. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvellous picture.
So the New Unity Choir is going to sing a traditional Christian Christmas carol next. Oh no, sorry, not that other one. Yes, we are going to sing, but the introduction was for later. Sorry. Whatever. So first Kirby's daughter sits here now. Kirby. we're just 2 short days away from the winter solstice, which is the darkest day of the year. And on that day, there will be only 7 hours, 49 minutes, and 50 seconds of daylight. And I count the seconds because each one is precious. But that time is assuming that the sky is clear, so it could be worse. And at this time of year, this dark time, our ancestors sought to bring light into the world. They may have lit their bonfires and lamps to encourage the return of life-sustaining sunshine, and maybe they did it just to ease the sorrow brought about by so much night. And we do this still. At Hanukkah just passed, and Diwali not long ago, the symbols and practices are all about light. And there's another holiday coming in just a few days, as if you could miss it, even if you tried. Christmas is everywhere, and we may all be more aware of Christmas than even we want to be. The season is a wonderful time for some, and it's indifferent for many whose traditions never included a winter holiday at all. And for others, it is a difficult time of year. Some have had losses at this time, and the festivities grate against and deepen the sorrow that they feel. And some remember Christmases past and find themselves lonely now. For them, Christmas is a time to get through somehow, to survive, rather than to relish. But Christmas is special, not just because of lights, or trees, or shopping, or receiving presents, or the festive food and drink of the season. Christmas is a time symbolized by the birth of a child. This child was not a king. He was no one special. He was born to poor parents who were forced by an oppressive regime to travel while the mother was heavily pregnant. And this lowly birth brought hope of a different kind of future. The baby grew into a man who was a great and inspiring teacher. Jesus taught of love. He taught of justice. He taught of acceptance. His conflict with his own people was about the tension between 2 religious values that we've talked about before: the religious purity of the priestly tradition and the love and justice of the prophetic tradition. And Jesus, who associated with those considered impure, was firmly on the side of love. Maybe he wasn't quite as radically as inclusive as we are, but for his time and place, he was radical indeed. And in our world today, we know that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are finding themselves forced to travel for their own survival. They are men and women and many, many children. They have no place to stay. There is little or no room at the inn of the developed nations. And into this darkness, too, we can bring hope. As most of you know, 2 courageous people from New Unity, Kirby Costa-Campos and Sophie Yao, returned Monday from a week on the Greek island of Leros. And there they helped men and women and children and babies, refugees from war-torn countries like Syria and Afghanistan. These refugees are living through a very dark time. They've had to choose between the horrific dangers of remaining in the lands they consider home and embarking on the treacherous journey to safety. Kirby and Sophie were on Leros to bring some light into that darkness. They did that. They changed things for people in desperate straits. And as Kirby will tell you, it changed them as well.
Okay, I made it through that without crying. Let's see how far I get here. Text is much smaller than I thought it was going to be before I got up here, so bear with me on the phone. Okay. So yesterday, I was able to sit in the cafe, catty corner to here, the kids' cafe, the place on the corner, and everything was completely normal. I was there for my daughter's ballet class, Georgia. Get to sit and watch her dance around. I ordered the normal coffee that I normally order. Only difference, though, is rather than sitting there and scanning through my Instagram and kind of just killing time how I normally would have been, I was in a group chat via Facebook. So this group chat was a handful of people. It was 3 new friends that are on their path across Europe that we met during our stay in Greece. One is Syrian. He's been able to travel safely through the borders. The other 2 are Egyptian, and they don't have the privilege to travel through the borders. So for the past 24 hours, they have been working with a human trafficker to get smuggled into Europe to get the privileges that we have here right now. They were terrified. They were communicating. When we were able to get on the phone with them, they were just asking us to pray for them because a lot of times it's not, when you get to Greece, it's just the beginning of the journey, specifically if you don't have refuge like these Egyptians did. On the chat were also 3 friends and family members of the boys we were trying to keep up to date with. We were able to get calls and connect with them, and then we were reporting back to their family. It's the simple things like phone calls and Facebook groups that were able to relieve their worried mothers, which their families are going to be eternally grateful for. I was kept the entire evening worrying about our friends being shot, captured, or abused on their travels, and this is just the beginning. They were going to continue, and they've got weeks ahead of them like this. When we left with your amazing support 2 weeks ago for Liros, I imagined that when I reported back to you now, that it would be letting you guys know about the money that you trusted with us. Mostly listing off all the projects that we were able to do, and yes, the donations you sent went very far. The money you so kindly entrusted with us went to many things that have directly changed lives. But as I have the opportunity to speak to you now, that's not what I want to share with you about. For 1 week, I had the absolute privilege to get to know and build relationships with people running from war. Things like ISIS, Taliban, Afghanistan, Syria, and Islam, all things of our shared imagination created by the news, became a first-hand reality. Then to learn the true state of affairs in this particular island, where people are being starved, beaten, and neglected by the Greek army, police, and hospitals, was heartbreaking. The journey many face doesn't end when they reach European soil like they want to think. Many times it's just the beginning of their horror. So many times amongst cultural, language, social, economic differences, I just wanted to hug the people I was speaking to. I just wanted to rock them and tell them it was going to be okay. I held countless innocent children in my arms that week, letting the mothering instinct take over, rocking and soothing them, knowing I'd never be able to understand the trauma that these children had faced. But in those moments, I hoped the few minutes of comfort I could give those babies, the little tiny minute sense of relief I could give those mothers, that someone, anyone, even an unqualified volunteer, understood the basic needs of affection, that's what I want to share with you today about. What is crisis relief really when we think about it? Is it sending money for supplies? Is it providing basics like food and dry clothes? Is it administering health care to the sick? For me, it's that and much more. It starts right here in this room with us right now. It's the responsibility to educate ourselves and the people around us of what's happening, specifically when people are being mistreated. It's the responsibility to end stereotyping and opening our hearts to all. Humanitarian work in my mind starts with the very basics. The language we use to address each other. To me, these people are no longer refugees, but my friends who I have a responsibility to help. While creating no line between the people fleeing war and the people there to help us, there's no us and them, there's only an us. It's listening, understanding, and going out of our way to comfort in simple ways. Oftentimes, I forget in our hopes for grand actions, that's really the smallest actions that can go the furthest. Sophie and I still have a lot to share with you about the work we've done this week past. We have people through our stories to introduce you to, amazing people, Though we were there to help, ended up by helping us by shifting our spirits. Till then, no. The people we had the utmost pleasure to get to know that week, above all else, are no different than you and I sitting in this room right now. And that's the most important message to spread from our work. More important than the war stories of the need, because it's here, with this understanding, the respect starts to grow, and we start to build a brighter and kinder future for all of our new friends and family. If there's anything I hope our actions can do from heading out to Greece is inspire you to open your minds, inspire you to realize that the smallest actions in this big world can have the most immense impact, but mostly inspire you to act and to help in this humanitarian crisis. Because through our love, I truly believe, after seeing it, it's possible that we can end it. We can. It's not going to be easy, but we can. And I'm happy to report to you, our friends did make it through the border last night to safety and freedom. Though no, those are 3 people that we built a relationship up with. There are hundreds and thousands of them fleeing, just like them right now. And every single one of them needs a friend, just like us, and just like you. So I have 2 things before I step down that I want to do. First of all, I'm going to probably embarrass somebody really badly right now. But Ellie, would you step up, please? Is that possible? So I want to introduce you guys to Ellie. Ellie also just got back at the same time as us, and she worked on the port crew for over a month on Leros, receiving the people as they came out of the ocean in really dire conditions. And one of the things I realized is because it's so few volunteers, they don't really get the proper thanks and support that they need. So I really just wanted to give Ellie a round of applause. That you sent us, we gave to Ellie to restock up the port van. So the money that you directly bought were used by Ellie to dress wet people and clothe them and buy baby bottles and a whole bunch of stuff. So if you think your donations can't do anything, there's living proof in this room right now. And then lastly, going on with the thanks, it's great that we can send out donations to support and take action, but I think the love and the positive energy that we can send out, that is just as influential. So I've set up in the back, there's a bunch of these little cards in the back table, and there's 4 groups. It's the port crew with which Ellie worked on. It's the cafe that's owned by local Greek people that are taking care of it. I mean, they took care of both of us. So they fed us, they let us cry on them, they let us sleep on their couches. It was quite incredible, the cafe. I want to send them, who else is there? There's the ticketing office that deals with thousands of refugees every single week that don't speak English, and to try to safely get them to Athens for the rest of their journey. And then also just the various volunteers that are working across the camp. If you guys could do me a favor and write personal little notes of thank you and just love and support on the back of these cards, and then put them in a pile on top of which group it's for, I'm going to mail them out so we can send some love and inspire and hopefully support the people that are supporting the refugees. Thank you.
Lest you be confused, the cards you have in front of you are different than the cards that are in the back. Okay? These are for different. The ones back there are the ones you're going to send to Lyra. These are for something else, which I'll explain momentarily.
The New Year 1981 by Denise Loveton. I have a small grain of hope, one small crystal that gleams clear colours out of transparency. I need more. I break off a fragment to send you. Please take this grain of hope, so that mine won't shrink. Please share your fragment, so that yours will grow. Only so, by division, will hope increase. Like a clump of irises which will cease to flower unless you distribute the clustered roots. Unlikely source, clumsy and earth-covered, of grace.
Do you have a grain of hope to share? Hope is the thing that makes it possible to get up in the morning when life has been difficult, when we face illness, or grief, or danger. Hope is the thing that reminds us that it can get better. It will get better, although maybe not in the way we expected. Each of us has had the need to find hope in our lives. Sometimes others have helped us find that grain and make it increase. Perhaps it is the seasons of nature and the fact that light does inevitably balance the dark times that brings hope to you. Or it may be the laughter and caroling and bells and joy that humans can bring. And perhaps it is the fact, as the liberal historian Howard Zinn reminds us, human history is not only one of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. So you should have found a small folded card with a string in front of you this morning. And if you don't have one, please raise your hand, and Simon is over there to bring more. Simon will bring cards and hope. So, these are going to be for our Christmas tree. The tree already has lights that symbolically dispel the darkness. These cards will be a light against despair. These cards are a light of hope. So as the choir sings in a moment, I want to invite you to write something on your card that will be a grain of hope. Something that will remind anyone who reads it that the sun will return, that growth is possible, that the future can be better, that the world also contains beauty and wonder. So on these cards, write the grain of hope, something that you would like to inspire a despairing person to hope when they see it. And then in the closing music of our time together today, I'm going to invite everyone to come up and hang their messages of hope on the tree. Will the choir please come forward? collection in a moment, and as we do each week, the monies that we collect go entirely to charity. And this month we've been collecting for a charity called Aquaba, which is a very small local charity that works with migrants and immigrants. And they offer, well, I'm going to let you tell. So Benjamin Morgan is from Aquaba, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what they do.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Yeah. Great. Thank you to Andy for inviting me. Thank you to everybody for welcoming me up here for the first time. I don't have a speech. I wanted to respond a bit in describing Aquaba, in describing our project to you, to some of the things I've heard already here this morning. So I hope it won't be too garbled, I have to say. Aquaba means welcome in the Twi language of Ghana, and welcome is what we try to do every Sunday up the road at Green Lanes Methodist Church. Aquaba is a Sunday social drop-in for refugees, asylum seekers and other migrants. We have gone from nothing, really, in March of this year to supporting over 30 people a week who come to us on a Sunday. What do? We have a meal together. We have activities. We have arts and crafts. We have games for the children. We have ESOL classes, English language classes for those who want to learn. We have music. But most of all, we try to be a safe space. At a time and in a climate where for many migrants, there aren't that many safe spaces. We try to give people a time and a place in the week where they can relax, where they can not think about other things they might have going on, where they can get to know people, and where they can learn that, again, in a time where government policy in the UK, unfortunately, and even local authority policy might make them feel that migrants are not welcome in London or in the UK or in Hackney, that actually there are people here who are pleased to see them. Radical inclusivity, I know that's something you do here. It's also something we try and do up the road at Aquaba. We don't discriminate between refugees, asylum seekers, and other kinds of migrants. We have all three kinds. And we don't think, whatever the media might sometimes want us to believe, we don't think the distinction between those three categories of people is very helpful. There are people who need support. Some of them are refugees and some of them are coming through Leros and making their way up here to flee war. Most of the people in Hackney most of the people in Hackney who use our service don't actually fit into that category. They are people from other countries who've been here many years and who, for one reason or another, are not considered deserving by our government and in some cases our local council. We try to support those people too. We have destitute, refused asylum seekers who use our service, people who've been in London for many years, who've been rejected as refugees by the state, but have no route of return to their home country. And so stay here destitute, but for the support of charitable organisations and churches. We have African families, many Nigerian families in Hackney who live on almost nothing because of their immigration status, because they can't access mainstream benefits. And again, those people are often destitute without the support of their local communities and churches. So I don't want to be too preachy or too political, because that's not really what we try to do. But I suppose I would add to the really great and inspiring things that Kirby was saying before, that we have a community of people here in Hackney too, people who've already arrived, and they really need our support, and that's what we're trying to do. Thank you for helping us. Please come and see us on Sunday. Thank you.
I think it's also worth pointing out with some of the things that Kirby's been discussing and Benjamin's been discussing, that we are actively engaged in working with the Hackney Council to try to get the council to accept more refugees. And if you're interested in that work, which we do with Citizens UK, talk to Simon after the service. Would you just raise your hand? That's Simon. So, oh, and Jen, or Jen. Where are you, Jen? Jen's in the back there. So talk to either Simon or Jen. They are two of the three people heading up the Refugee Action Group. And that is an active, ongoing piece of work. So please give James.